April 1st, April Fool's Day.
Yes.
Tom and Q show. Today is probably the coolest show we've done so far.
Oh, easy.
Like we've been at different places. We've talked to different people. We've never had a guest before. So why don't you introduce our special guest?
You guys know that we are passionately behind the local legends philosophy and the theory and what local legends is all about to highlight somebody in the community that makes a difference in the community. And we have the head football coach of West Clermont High School here, Coach Nick Ayers, and just the exemplary of local legend. You know, I was coaching softball here a couple of years ago, and he put out a message on social media at like noon of family in need. And I showed up for weight training at like 2:30 for the team, and about 6-7 foot long, about 2-3 foot high stack of diapers and formula and baby stuff. And you know, when I walked in and saw it, I didn't know what it was for, but he pointed to it and said, you know, that's what community's all about. You know, it was a 2-hour text or a 2-hour post on social media, and look at this community rallying around it. So, you know, that to me is someone that's on a platform and using it well. So, it's bragging about you, Nick, man. So, good job to you. Kudos to you, and we just want to talk about you and some things that you're doing for the community and that you got going on.
Yeah. So, what's cool about my position is I get a lot of the accolades for it. I guess I'm the face, the fat face. I guess it's just not, you know. I need to slim down. The camera head's about 1,000 pounds. So, a lot of people do a lot of behind the scenes work on our staff. And I grew up in a family that was very giving to the community and that didn't ask for recognition. So a lot of times it's embarrassing because you know, when you ask or you're put out there, the way things are is you put yourself out there. Kind of some things can come back bad.
Yep.
You know, no good deed goes unpunished. So we do a lot of things behind the scenes. We have a lot of support systems that people do. It's definitely not just me, and it's a lot of young people that like this weekend we had my academy kids were third and fourth grade, and they donated a Big Joe beanbag to a kid. So I worked it out with both sides of the parents, and I drove the kids over and I said, I want you to give it to them so you can feel what it's like to give something.
Yeah.
And one of the older one kind of almost broke out in tears because we took it to a spot that wasn't ideal, and the kid just said, I just think you guys are the coolest, and was so appreciative. And we just did that this weekend. Yeah. Kids didn't ask for anything for it. They gave it on their own, and it's awesome to see little kids that want to do that for other people. So it's not just me at all. It's how I was raised, and my parents have done, and my grandparents have done things for people behind the scenes and never asked for any credit. So sometimes it kind of like when you get credit for it, it's not as cool as it seems.
Yeah, no, that kind of gave me the chills, man. I think that's awesome to get involved in that. And with the Nick Ayers Academy, I mean, talk about that a little bit. I think that's a great story within itself as well.
Yeah, so it's Academy for boys, K through 6. They come, they work out with me 6 days a week. It's a year-round commitment. What we're doing is teaching kids that want to be athletes and make a difference that their number one sport, regardless of how many sports they play, needs to be training.
Yeah.
And needs to be around and learn different things about the right way to do stuff. And taking a kid in, we started out 2 days a week, and it really just wasn't enough.
Right.
And it was almost like just a money grab and a thing where kids could come in, train, and they go and they leave. And it was almost like that one-day motivational speaker where those kids needed more repetitions and just being around me and learning and how to train. And the platform is training, but it also just teaches them how to go about things and eventually just be a man. You know, we have Man Up Mondays for our high school kids.
I love it.
So this is kind of a roundabout way of doing that for little kids.
How many kids do you have in the program?
26.
26, okay.
Yeah, so.
Awesome. So, what type of stuff do you do when you're talking training? I mean, obviously, at the younger ages, they play a lot of different sports.
They play a lot of different sports, so we'll come in and we'll do like a priming phase. Everything's in 10-minute blocks, and kids have multiple schedules. It's hard to commit to that 6 days a week. You know, kid, hey, an hour, or we're transitioning from practice or whatever, so we don't want to burn the kids out at all. So we do 10-minute blocks, and they're in 3 phases through the 90 minutes. So, and the kids maxed out at an hour, right? or their minimums of 30 minutes. So the first 10 minutes is priming, flexibility, dynamic warm-up, those things, and then we go into a circuit, battle ropes, box jumps, those things, and then we go into a competition. Dodgeball, three-man weave with a football, some competitive hand-eye coordination game that they'll do, and then we start back over, and we do a different priming, a different circuit, so if the kid comes through, they'll get two primes, 2 circuits, 2 competitions. So they do the full hour. But if a kid's late, they just jump right in, and they'll have the warm-up with them, and they'll go, and then once they jump in, they're right in the mix. So kids filter in and out. We're just kind of getting started.
How's that work with school? Like,
it's evenings.
Okay.
It's evenings. It'll be 7:30 Monday through Thursday, 5:30 on Fridays, and then 8 a.m. on Saturdays.
Okay.
And then the kids work it out. If a kid wants to come in and just prime and do dynamic warm-up before their games, they can. So a kid plays baseball at 9 o'clock, a game at 10, and they'll come in prime, and then we'll work around parents' schedules and stuff. And I'm hoping to build it to about 50 kids.
do you have like your coaching staff or other guys or girls?
It's
that are
just
helping
me
out?
right now. It's hard to kind of give something up when it comes to training because people are bringing in their most prized possession, their kids. I mean, it's not like dropping off your car and getting the tires put on. So when the parents are there, they're very cautious of who they trust. And when you do programming, you'll go into a lot of training facilities where the owner, the guy that knows everything, has the exercise phys degree, that's CSCS certified, ignition certified, they'll do the programming, but then an intern or somebody will train them. I don't know if that's 100% fair to the families. What I was going to do was I'll run it and then also bring in my high school kids to learn how to give back, maybe have some ways they can earn money and different things. We have to just work that out through nonprofit, what's legal, there's just different things that go into it.
So is there a type of funding or fundraising that you do for that particular group?
So the kids join, it's a certain fee per month, and then once they get 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, the fee drops in half.
Okay.
But then once they get to high school, you're not allowed to charge a kid to train them, which you shouldn't, because they're going to eventually play for you.
Yeah.
So they go for free. So we have that. So while our kids are working out, our kids can come in extra, and it's office hours or kids come in and work aesthetics. We work hand clean, power clean variation, squat variation. They still want their arms to look big. So they'll come in and do
That's
aesthetics.
beach body, right?
They don't have to go pay for a Planet Fitness or racquetball club or whatever membership, Anytime Fitness membership. They'll just come in and work out next to us while we're working out the little kids.
So that's kind of a good lead in. I was, on Facebook they go through, like, I'm just tallying emails too. Usually like off of it. But going through Facebook, kind of opening up today and looking, and they have the memories and everything that popped up, right? And the business that we were in, we were kind of charged to do a lot of videos, and it really kind of opened you up to the world, right? And mine was like the very first video that we did, kind of post COVID, right?
Yep.
So leading into kind of your program and kind of looking over the last 52 weeks, 365 days, what impact, one, physically, location-wise, what did you guys do with that program, with your football program, and everything that you guys have going on? What impact did that have on your team and what you would usually do? How did you make changes?
Well, we kind of have to reinvent ourselves in a way this year because of what COVID has done over the past 12 to 16 months, 18 months.
Yeah.
And I'll let people decide from the show what they want to take from it. So an average kid from this building will come in a school day and walk an average of 5,000 steps. We've slapped some kids with GPSs on their watch or whatever.
Oh, that's interesting.
So they're going to walk 2 miles a day. It's 5,000 steps. Well, when you're home and you're stuck at home, you lose that 2,000. You lose that 5,000 steps.
Right.
Multiply that times 5 days, you lose 10 miles a week of migration.
Right.
Okay? Your 70-some% of the school turns their work in from 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. Their sleep pattern's messed up. So if you know about sleep pattern, so you need an hour grace period to get into your deepest sleep.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so once you get into that deepest sleep, then you have a certain amount of time that you get complete darkness, what it takes. And our kids at their age that they're growing, they need to get, upwards of around 10 hours of sleep. I know all those motivational speakers that are out there that are like sleep faster and do all this stuff. I just don't know if that's fair for a young kid because they're just in a totally different way. The food they're eating, they now have gone from, hey, I have lunch at this time when I walk to school, when I go to school, to now, well, I'm going to sleep in till noon or 1 because I stayed up until 2 doing my work, and then I'm going to sleep till noon or 1, and now my food, it's all about being off schedule.
Right.
Or being off tempo, if something's out of line, if your car's out of line, alignment with the tires, it just doesn't run right. So now, posture with kids, everybody complains about the hard plastic chairs that kids sit in all day. Well, what about the couch or bed you're laying in doing your classwork? All of a sudden, your posture's messed up. So we're reinventing kids with this program to say, look, this is what we think is happening to ourselves, and this is what we think we need to change. Okay, it's kind of like how I look at, if you look at Kenyans that run track, okay, how many of them ever have shin splints?
Right.
They don't, because they grew up running.
Right.
How many Latin American players get Tommy John surgery? They grow up playing.
Yep.
Right.
So now our program is just play. Like, just go out, play, run around, have fun, learn to fall. Like, you learned to fall because you fell out of a tree. Or you ran in the creek where that was resistance training. I'm being serious.
No, you're 100%.
Hey, I don't go to like kids now have, they almost call it like an artificial perspective on running because they don't run on natural grass anymore. They run on turf. And the only time they go do something active is when it's scheduled. So what we're teaching kids is it's elementary education.
Yeah.
And what you're doing is you're teaching them different games to play with no real financial interest, that you don't have to have a bunch of money. It's just a ball.
Right.
Any kind of ball, So that's the purpose of what we're doing. For our high school kids, it's Man Up Monday, We Over Me Wednesday, and Friday Night Lights. All those things go into it. We have them turn in, if they want to come to lifting, they have to commit by turning in pictures of their food before they turn in. Are you getting up and eating 2 meals? Those things are important to us. How many hours of sleep are you getting? It's the full holistic athlete is what.
Well, I think that whole, and you said it best when you talked about like really reinventing them, because I remember when all this kind of came about, it was like, snow days were going to go away because now kids are learning how to do Zoom meetings and doing all this stuff. And I'm like, I got a 16-year-old. I'm looking at him. I'm like, he needs to get back in school.
Absolutely.
Because just like you said, like and as parents, you do the best you can, right? So that's your job, is to do the very, very best you can. And you walk up there, and it's even just getting him up for school, right? It's like you might have a Zoom at 8:10. It's like, he'll get up at 8 o'clock.
Yep.
No, we need to get him up at 7 or 7:30 or whatever it would be like for when he was going to school.
Yeah.
And but it was just like you said, like literally he'd be just sitting in his bed. I'm like, now would you go to school like that, and your appearance out there to other people, would it be like that on a normal day if you went to school? No, it wouldn't. So why are you doing it here?
Right. And it's all about being where you're at, where your feet are sitting, where you're being. If we're doing this radio show and we're consistently checking our phones and we're meeting, we're not completely there. If I'm at my kids' games, you guys are real estate guys.
Yeah. Yep.
If you're at your kid's game and you're texting about a deal that has to get done, are you really at your kid's game? Your body's there.
Yeah.
But you're going to miss something. Your kid has YouTube, one of their other social medias, Netflix, and then their Zoom class, and they're kind of clicking back or listening to something else or have their earbud in, when normally that's monitored in the classroom.
Right.
You have a teacher that has put lesson plans together for in-person and for Zoom.
Right.
They're doubling their workload.
Yeah.
They now have their distractions because they're at home or they're in building. It just depends on what you do. And then you have to engage each kid and be sure. Now you have a situation where, like, you can have a kid jump on a Zoom with no shirt on. He just woke up or pajamas or something. You're kind of like, guys, we need to dial in here what we're doing.
Yeah.
And understand this is how you're supposed to be presented. Be in an upright position. Nobody else should be in the screen. You have to redo that. And right now, I don't think that education majors offer that in college, right? How to run a Zoom class. I don't know. I'm not an educator.
It's probably coming.
Yeah, there's
I would
gonna be
imagine
something
it would
out
have
there.
to because of all the things that happen, so.
So my youngest daughter, Audrey, and she's in 8th grade, but last year when they were doing this and kind of the trial and error of trying to just get some content out, just to touch base with the kids, she had, every class has the class clown. And then she was telling me about a kid in her class that's just a goofy kid, and she muted it. She's like, Dad, here's the kid. And I come in, and I'm not the parent. I don't overlook my kid for their I trust teachers do their job, and I do my job, and my kids get good grades, and I leave it be. So I'm not watching over to learn anything, but Audrey called me in the room, and I'm watching. I see this kid. He's got his phone on the ground in the bathroom, and he's sitting on the toilet, and dude's just chilling. I mean, he wasn't using the bathroom, but he's sitting on the toilet, and you see the kid like dancing and stuff in front of it, and I'm like, how does a teacher? Because that kid, he's not in a class, so the setting is completely different, and it's one of those things. It's like, when your kid does something wrong but funny, you laugh and you're like, oh, I shouldn't laugh.
That's where he does
the kid couldn't see me. So the kid was on a stinker, but just things like that the average parent doesn't see, doesn't know, and as you climb up the hierarchy of the big decision makers in this country or in the community, those are the things they don't see. And the teacher had no choice but to delete that kid from the.
Right.
But as a teacher, how do you? Because there's content the kid needs to know, and you kick them out of it.
Right. And
it's tough.
And what we deal with is, just like a lot of stuff with teachers is they don't clock out at 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock or whenever their school day ends. We were delivering meals last year to families in need, to people, because we are not a sidewalk community. Your kid might be able to, if you live in Sedona Ridge, or you live in McGuffey, or you live in Babson, or you live in wherever, that in itself neighborhood has a sidewalk.
Yep.
But in Appalachia, where we're on the last high school in the Appalachian Trail, we do not have sidewalks that connect kids everywhere. So you are not, if you live off 132, you don't feel comfortable with your kid getting up and walking down to the convenience store.
Correct.
Or to
100%.
get your laundry. So that kid is locked in. So we had to take meals out to families that were in more need than normal. Okay, that normally they would just outreach when they got to school. So we're delivering around, and a principal is at the office at midnight. And she goes, "Are you up?" And I said, "Yes." And she goes, "I'm trying to arrange this delivery." This is an elementary principal that kids haven't walked in her building in a certain amount of time, and she's still there. And parents don't know. You'll go on and you'll see these complaints and stuff like that, and that principal doesn't want credit. In her mind, she knows what she's doing to get done. But they're sitting there, and she's sitting there like, I have to get this done for tomorrow, and I cannot leave until the job's done. She knows that she does her best work inside the building.
Yeah.
She's not working from home. She's inside the building.
Wow.
And she's like, "Are you up?" "Yeah." "Hey, I've got kids, and they're crazy, and, our life is wild, and so I'm up." "Yeah, there's no problem. Tell me, what do you need me to do?" "Okay, can these be taken here first, because they have not eaten in 3 days."
Definitely a lot of those heartbreaking, like they're not even just stories, it's stuff that you never thought about on a day-to-day
100%.
basis, right? So I know where we are, like Northwest Local Schools, they had and still have like food drops where like these teachers and administrators and folks that work in the building, they basically had all of the lunches, like it was basically a school lunch, and you showed up and they put it in your truck and you had lunch for the day or 2 days or for the week, whatever it was. And like we're blessed, we're fortunate enough to be able to do certain things, but to be in a community where you don't see that all the time, and then have that realization like, wow, this is really needed. Kind of to your point, like people that are staying around that I'm guessing they're not getting paid overtime.
Yep.
To do this type of thing, and to just lend a helping hand and just help the community and people get that.
And West Clermont's 54 square miles. Northwest Local School's probably similar. It goes up towards Ross.
Yeah.
Yep.
Works west, I think, towards Blue Rock.
Yep.
Okay, so that's a large school district too.
Yep.
So we're 54 square miles, and we're open enrollment.
Yep.
So you're looking at the day we collected the diapers, that student's location was in Fairmont.
Ah. Wow.
So when we made that decision to go there, the student was a senior in high school, so just finishing out, homeless, and staying with a family member finishing up their high school. It's not fair to take that student out and make them go to another high school for their last year, couple months or whatever.
Sure.
So we were delivering for that student and their child.
That's amazing.
So, but when you have families that pull up and they're like, hey, our neighbor, can we grab for our neighbor? You're really not supposed to give it to the neighbor, so the school won't, because
Right.
the school's going to do everything. I cannot imagine a school district that has followed the letter of the law the way this district has in the administration and what they've done. I know everybody brags about what they do, but how this district has led it and what they've done. No, but how come, why can't they come get it? Well, dad's at work, they only have one car.
Right.
Right.
Mom's at home, you can't get here. Okay, we'll figure it out, we'll do all the contacts because there's privacy involved, there's all those things. Then it creates a whole nother chain of work.
Right.
Just to get meals to people. It has nothing to do with educating someone or whatever. It has to do with doing the right thing, just give those people the platform that know this building, a beautiful building.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And what the district has done and the time they've done it. And these are the centerpieces. This building is the centerpiece. People pull in and like, I can't believe it. What kind of socioeconomic situation you guys have here? And we tell them, and they're like, well, we can't believe it because you have all this great stuff. Yes, we do have high output families, but we also have lower end families that need help. And what we do is the outreach is amazing by our administration. Unreal.
Yeah.
That sounds unbelievable. Just to hear it and local legends for every teacher. I mean, it's incredible because I've never had to. So I feel bad for myself. It's one of those times where you look at compare your life to somebody else's. And you're like, whoa, there's so much more that we're capable of doing, and you don't know it until you know it. But to hear these teachers have their day, they're double planning, and then in their free time, if you want to call it that, they're delivering food. They're touching base. They're trying to do whatever they can, and besides all the work that we are aware of, the strain and the stress. And so my wife's a nurse in labor and delivery, and there are days that she comes home and it's a bit challenging to see a sick kid. To be a teacher, to carry your own workload, and then to go into some of these situations to where you mentally have to keep it with you. You can't just shake that stuff off. It's impossible. So,
And
wow, it's incredible.
My short stay in the hospital because of COVID made me realize what all went into it. Where I didn't truly think like, okay, I knew it was a big deal, but I didn't know how big of a deal it was until I got there. And automatically with COVID, the hospitals are cut in half because you can only have one to a room.
Yep.
And it was so emotionally draining sitting there. I'm an attention person. Like, I got to talk to somebody. I can only do so much on the phone, like talking or whatever and communicating with my wife. Thank goodness I had a window that I was, at some point, if I was going to stay longer, I was going to have people walk and talk to me, drive up and talk to me. But the hospital rooms are cut in half. You can't have more than one person in there. Then you're isolated so much because it could be 3, 4, 5, 6 hours before somebody comes back in because of the protective where they have to have. They're budgeted into how much they put on.
Yep.
Right? And how much they got to see you. And there's people. I was on the intermediate floor. I wasn't in the low, like I'm out of the woods. I was on my way up to the ICU or whatever they're doing up there. I wasn't up there. And literally, I was like, is there anybody else here? It seemed like a ghost town. Nobody was in the halls, except for some of the workers. And there was no visitors, obviously, and one patient per room. So it seems like there's nobody there. Mm-hmm. So you're like, is anybody here? And they're like, oh, we're full, except for one room. And that's the next person that goes up to ICU. Yeah. And that's where it's like, so if every hospital is automatically cut in half by size.
Yep.
And ERs were then having people in the rooms. You had no ER really, per se. You sat in the car until they called you in.
Yep. I didn't get it as bad. I got double pneumonia with mine, so I had to go to the ER and had a nice little fist fight with COVID myself. And man, going to the ER, you're in there by yourself. Everybody's hunched over. They're sore. It's like something from a movie almost. From my experience, it was Bethesda North, and they did the best they can. And going down the hall and in a wheelchair, and it was like, I don't know how better way to put this. Like a meat market of people just in the halls in the ER, just keep them to themselves, and then you go back into the low pressure room that they put me in, and you feel like you're going to die. And, go home. You're not the worst we got. It's like, oh man. So yeah, I shared, I guess, next level. You know, I passed out in our living room. My wife took me, and they sent me home that evening. And on the way home, I mean, it brought me to tears. Just the reality of it, of it all settled in. It was like, wow, that was real. So yeah, with what you're saying, it's kind of underestimated it until it hit you. And then it's like, all right, let's reevaluate this whole thing.
Oh yeah. The 3 days I was at, like the first 3 days, and then I got out the fourth day, but I lost like 16 pounds. Best diet I've ever been on. Fastest active. Too bad I gained 17 as soon as I got out.
Plus one.
I was like, I lost a bunch of weight, and then all of a sudden I gained. I was like, I feel pretty good. I feel light. I gained all the weight plus one.
That's the first thing my wife said to me. I was like, I lost some weight. She said, I'll be back. Without hesitation.
Come right back.
Thanks,
Faster
sweetie.
than before.
And it did.
So, all right. So,
speaking of wives.
yeah. And so now we're here, Q and I are on our 10th episode, right? So 10th episode, I left, and I said, are you sure you don't want to drive out to West Clermont with me? No, I'm good.
She's got a meeting, I'm sure.
Yeah, she's at a meeting. She's always at a meeting, right? So I'm sure you asked as well.
I did.
What about your wife?
No, she wouldn't go.
She wouldn't go. See? So there we go. So we are week 10, asking our wives, no wives still to come. So that continues. I would imagine that's going to continue
For all eternity.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, it takes a certain something to be able to get on any type of video.
We did get the invite last week to go to, what was it, Fretboard?
Fretboard.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And
What's that?
it's a brewery.
Yep.
So Jessica, that piqued her interest. And I said, Jess, I mean, they might have us on to sample some things. And she was like, no.
Yeah, well, no.
I got a change in body language and it stopped there.
But I would say if you're not willing to come, one, to my basement, that sounds kind of creepy. If you're not willing to step downstairs or just come over or come out here and meet Nick with us, that if we go to someplace really cool like Fretboard, no, you're out.
Yep.
You can't
Can't be in with a good time.
You can't just be the bandwagon, right?
Yeah.
What if it could be like a Facebook challenge? If we get this many, how many likes will it take on Facebook to get you to show up?
Ooh.
Oh man.
Because I've seen that on Instagram. How many retweets and likes to get somebody famous to go to prom or something like that?
Yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you said how many likes or shares,
Wow.
and then
Man, I'd almost be nervous to do that because what if we got those likes
Yeah.
and we opened up a whole new can of worms? I mean, as much criticism that we get behind the scenes.
Right.
Can you imagine being
well,
on
so
camera?
then what you do is you set it up as a fake romantic date.
Looking
Like a
about
surprise.
little camera in
And
the
then
corner.
all of a sudden you show up and it's just a radio
It's
show.
just a. I love that. I'd probably get killed for doing that. But it's a great idea, and we should think about the number of likes just to get their response alone. For hey,
Just to put the anxiety and stress on.
yeah, you have to show up. You know.
And you should film it,
Yeah.
asking them how many. And if it's 1,000, 10,000, I mean,
Should
One.
That's
good, Nick. I like where your head is, man. I
He's
like
gonna put a
where
lot.
your head is.
You coming out here, you know.
I think
put a lot of
Jess was
pressure
going to
on
say
you.
you're not allowed to sit with Nick anymore.
Right.
my mom calls me a Steinberg. So. And I don't even think Steinberg's been around since I've been alive, maybe. I don't know.
Right.
So we've got the no wives streak. We've also got my own personal streak. Last week, I had 153,836 emails that were in my inbox. You know, main phone screen you get. So today, we are at 154,746, which is an increase of, again, about 900.
Jeez, it's 900 emails in a week. Just junk mail
Yeah, just jump.
from your early Yahoo days of your first email ever.
Do you have an assistant for your real estate?
No,
You should get one and have
That's-
them just delete.
that's exactly what we said last week.
Yeah.
I said that last week. I said, eventually, if I ever can afford an assistant, I'm just going to have them go through and delete, because it's the process itself on Yahoo, even going from a computer, like the amount of pages that you have to get to the bottom, delete all, page, delete all,
Yeah.
page. Like, it's so time consuming. And then when email first got out, this was my original email address. So
there's sentimental value to it too, right?
there's no sentimental value. Like it was strictly like, I'm not even going to look at it. It's garbage. Let it go. Well, that snowballed into all of these different junk type emails. But then you get the occasional one that you need to read.
Yep.
And then I was telling him, I'm not one to, I like a paper trail, so if I need to revert back to something from 1996 or whatever email was created, I can go back and see, hey, we talked about this then.
Yeah, what if you get a really important email?
So
Within that,
We talked about this last week.
he asked me that question last week, and fortunately, I've never missed one. Smartphones and everything come through. I don't know that.
So he has business separated from personal.
But they both go into that one
Yeah.
account, right? So you know how you're scrolling, your ability to kind of scroll through things, and you're looking for like hot topics or keywords, right, or names. Like that's what I'm looking for. Like,
Yep.
okay, I see all these different things from Staples and Walmart and all these,
Dick's
Sporting Goods. I'm like, okay, I'm just bypassing. Now, if somebody actually emailed me and their name was Dick so-and-so, there would be a chance that would get bypassed.
Yep.
But, at some point, I'm going to go through and delete those out. It just hasn't happened yet.
Yeah, it's crazy.
there's
That's
got to
good.
be a way.
Yeah.
If there is a way, short of actually bringing someone in and having them take my phone or my computer and just delete. I mean, I do have kids.
There you go. Do
Then
that
there's
in
the
your
one
favor.
that like, what about your revert?
I would just start from a year ago and just delete everything. Because you're not going to use it from a year ago.
Well,
Never know.
back in college, so I was in Georgetown from 2000 to 2004. I had a friend, a teammate, and I never, for some reason, it stuck with me. Never delete a phone number.
Yeah.
Never. His name's Blake Rickenback. I texted him, I emailed him or messaged him on Facebook and said I need to talk to you because I wanted to tell him thank you because that stuck with me. I had a Razor flip phone
Yeah.
in college,
Yeah.
and you know how it took longer. I mean,
A, B, C, D.
you had to
yeah.
put,
Yep.
if you weren't technologically sound. So, and he goes, I would never, ever, ever delete a number. He saved every number, and he's ultra successful. I mean,
Yeah.
it just makes sense.
Yeah. I don't do that either. If I get a number from somebody that I know I'm going to have, like, just say you sent me a text message. I'm gonna put Nick Ayers in there. That way, in a year from now, I can call you. I need something. You call me, whatever. And it pops right up. Hey, Nick, how you doing?
Yeah.
Or you have those conversations with people that you haven't talked to in a while, but you have their name in there, and it's like right away, like, hey, dude, like, what's going on?
That's interesting because I go back and forth in the real estate business. When you're working a deal with an agent, you talk to that agent a
Yeah.
lot through the transaction, but you're never going to talk to him again. So I'll look and I'm like, is it even worth saving
But it's funny when
their
you
name and,
when you
and,
go
and
through
contact info?
and you are doing something like that, and you have a text message string, and you go to text them again, and like, oh, we talked, we have done something before.
Yes.
So it's kind of that warm feeling of, I wouldn't say necessarily a friend, but it's almost a little bit of a trust there. Like, hey, I've got your number in here. Like,
Yeah.
clearly there's something there.
I struggle with saving that sometimes. And sometimes we have great transactions.
Yeah.
Great agents you work with, and it's like, I'm saving it because I enjoyed working with them. And then you have some, transactions that go all over the board, and man, I hope I never work with them again. So
Those are the ones you need to save too. Because,
that phone rings.
Yeah.
No, it's that's interesting. That's interesting because I'm on the fence on saving numbers.
Save every number.
Yeah.
You never know.
Yeah.
You never know. Now I put in the notes sometimes and what the person does, or if I need help with something, or
I'm starting to get better at that.
resources. Hey, I need this. I mean, you could get somebody that is a manager at one of the P&G locations for diapers or soap, or I mean, it's just
Well, even in your position, it's got to feel good, if you have a player, he graduates and leaves, and he can just check in with you, or vice versa.
Yeah.
He's away at school
That's
or
great.
wherever. Like,
And that's one thing I'm disappointed in myself in is my contact with the previous classes that have graduated not, and I'm making a point now, as I'm delegating stuff here out, that I'm going to reach out every so often to those guys no matter what,
Right.
because it's just so valuable to keep those relationships. When kids are in other sports, we battle this now, so every kid's expected to fill out that wellness survey 7 days a week. So the kid comes to us like, Coach, I'm in baseball right now. We care about you every day. We don't just care about you.
Yeah, right.
So that's where, even when you leave, we care about you.
Yep, I agree. And talking coaching for the run that I had, sometimes it's the reality of it. And girls, we're here for the next 4 years. Some of you guys I will never talk to again,
Right.
and it's just a 4-year window because we've all graduated high school. We know the people that we've gotten in contact with, and some of you girls, for whatever reason, we'll keep in contact, and we'll continue to cheer each other on because the relationships just develop different. But some of them, we're never going to talk again. Well, and it's so weird to kind of what you were saying. It's some people you really cheer for in life, and then they move on, and it's you sit back and it's hope they're doing well. A past kid that came through the system and it's on with life now.
a little different take on it too, but I've been coaching baseball for over 20 years, right?
Yeah.
All ages, so you deal with kids as they kind of go through first through 8th grade or whatever, and then kind of when they get to high school, before you're kind of dealing more so with parents, right? You're dealing with the kid, but anytime
Yeah.
you're sending messages out, you're sending messages to the parents, and you hope that they are relaying whatever it is. As they get older, kind of trying to make men out of them, right? To where they have to become responsible for their own decisions, or tell their parents, hey, I've got to be here at such and such time. Like, we have this. Like, put the onus back on that kid,
Yeah.
to where they learn and understand kind of responsibility. It's funny because, especially now, the kids are in high school, so I will just send one group message, hey, we've got practice here, and we've been fortunate enough to where it's worked out, to where they can rely on themselves and rely on me, and now that they're able to drive, they don't really rely on, they say, hey, I'm going to practice.
So and you and that player develop a different type
Correct.
of relationship. And isn't it cool when a kid reaches out to you like 4 or 5 years after they left, hey, Coach, can I use you as a reference?
Yeah.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I mean, that happened to me yesterday with one of my behavior kids that I work with. And he goes, hey, he's like, we went through a rough patch, blah, blah, can I put you on the job reference? I said, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
You've grown as an adult. I mean, I can't, I see your social medias and I see what you do, and I'll verify how hard it was for you coming up and then how you've succeeded, and then technology's ruined us in a point where kids are now non-confrontational with verbal or, like I save every handwritten letter colleges send me or kids give me because I think it's really important to put that pen to paper. I love writing stuff down.
Right.
Nowadays it's kind of like you'll call someone and they'll go, busy, what's up? Well, what are you busy with? Or a baseball coach here, who's played professional and has a son that's thriving at the college level, when he coached younger kids at a certain age, if that parent walked up with their bag and was carrying the bag for the kid, they'd say, go back to your car and have him carry it.
Yep.
Well, we're going to start a little different here.
Yep. It was cool because we heard that in our early run with Paige in the travel ball circuit. Mm-hmm. And it's one of those things that just stuck because she wouldn't let me carry her bag from my garage to the car when nobody's present. She's like, I got it.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm not here to question your standards. How can you carry it there?
Yeah, and it's like you go through the locker room stuff, and I know it sounds, but reinventing kids and reteaching them, like, hey, flushing the toilet after you go to the bathroom. And with boys, it's really bad. They don't flush. They don't pull up the seat. They're like, it's not my problem to clean it. Well, it actually is. If you're a germ freak, here's how you can use your foot. And we go through and you check off, this kid's looked at it.
Yeah.
I know it sounds horrible, but
No, it's everyday life.
hey, when somebody opens the door for you, you look at them and you say thank you.
Right.
Like we say, there's no abbreviation for appreciation.
Like
It's
that.
not
I love
TY,
that.
it's not thanks, it's thank you.
Yep. I wholeheartedly agree with that, and you're so right. We're losing that human interaction skill. So everything's muscle memory.
You can immediately hit an emoji on your phone that is now a fire symbol or hearts in the eyes and stuff like that. And I use that on social media, but it's like I want to really sense what kind of thank you it is. What kind of you're welcome. How much appreciation and what they understand.
So talking about social media, how much, I don't want to say interaction, but like, with the students, how much of an eye do you keep on kind of what they're doing social media wise? Because to me, that's, especially with the kid in high school that does play sports, you want to try to teach them to, like, they're going to use it, but know what you're using it for, know what the repercussions of it could be. And you hear the horror stories of kids that have done stupid things. We've all done stupid things. We just didn't have this type of avenue when we were growing up.
Yeah. So if you like, retweet, comment, whatever, you're endorsing it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's what's hard because it could be the slip of the finger, and it's just one person's screenshot and it's sending saying this kid like this.
Yeah. Yes.
And there's a fine line that I can't cross as a coach of. I want to help build them as men, but I can't be the only one raising them or giving the advice because their parents are there if they have them. If they're lucky enough to have both or one that is important in their life, and then it's just a discussion with the parent. Hey, is this what you want? Mm-hmm. But if you cross that line with the parent, you automatically allow the parent to be involved in, well, what about this? Yeah. Or what about this? If you hold one kid accountable, how do you hold the other kid accountable in what they post? Yeah. So what we do is if you now bring in, let's say I had a kid ask me, can I wear this ribbon on the back of my helmet? Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, I'm like, yeah. In my head, hey, yeah, I don't want to tell him no and everything. He puts 8 straight across his front. Well, that's a look at me thing.
Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
So now, if you want to do something, if you truly believe in it, and we're talking about young men from all different walks of life, if you truly believe in something, explain it.
Yep.
Explain what you mean and why. Everybody wants to know why. Now, I did stuff because I was afraid of my parents. Hey, you need to do this.
Yeah.
Well, I did it because I was afraid of my parents, and I respected my parents so much because of everything they did for me as a kid and as they still do for me as an adult.
Right.
Where now it's kind of like, well, why? Like, can you explain why? That's why when we go to workouts, they get the workout the day before most times, sometimes that day, and it'll explain why we're doing it.
Yeah. On
a Google Drive, it goes to their student email or whatever we shared on our team app. And then here's the workout. So when a kid goes home and goes, my back kind of hurts, we squatted today. We didn't squat today. Well, yeah, we did. Well, that's our dynamic warm-up. We body squatted.
Yeah.
We did not put weight on your spine and have you squat down and do it. Mm-hmm. Hey, I did this much weight. No, you didn't. It's in the Team Builder app.
Okay. Yeah, that's another generational kind of thing, and I try not to get hung up on it because I think every generation is at the end of the day the same. But when we were growing up, it's why? Because I said so.
That was it.
Now it's like we have to articulate and kind of give them a clear picture of cause and effect on why.
Yeah.
Like you were saying, which I think it's good.
Yeah, it has everything to do. We were closer to the greatest generation of our lifetime and our grandparents than our own kids.
Right. Yes.
So every generation that gets away from that greatest generation struggles with a little something else.
Yeah.
But here's what the thing is. I'll go with it. It was Mario Brothers when we were growing up, probably. But now it's Fortnite. Fortnite's the same game for all three of us, but how we play it's different.
Right.
So it's who's in control. It's not the kid's fault.
Yes.
It's who's in control of the. I act like it's a joystick.
Yeah.
It's
right.
The old Atari with the red button. Right.
Well, I can tell you that I've tried it and I'm terrible at it. So
yeah, I don't play it. I don't play video games, but
right, never.
But like what I'm saying is we're in control of the kids, and it's what we do.
Yep.
Sometimes I get home and I do a poor job as a parent, and leave it all on my wife. That hey, this has to be taken care of because I'm trying to be, in a way, a father figure, coach, mentor, all day.
Right.
You know what I mean? The last thing somebody that landscapes all day and makes yards beautiful, they probably don't want to come home and work on their own yard.
Right. Correct.
The person that cleans hotel rooms and and all that, and makes everything. The cook probably doesn't want to cook when they,
Yep.
the head chef at this elite restaurant does not want to come home and cook their own meal. They're going to bring home food from the restaurant.
Right.
Yeah.
That's already done.
Yeah.
Like that's what I'm guessing. I don't know if that's right or not, but
I would say so.
it's who's in control.
So that kind of going down another path, right? So being a coach, how many kids do you have?
So we have 5 total.
Okay.
We have 1 adopted who's older. That's
Okay.
at 23, 24. I mean, they all, I mix up the ages now.
Sure.
So it's yours, mine, it's yours, mine, ours, and theirs.
Okay.
So Robert, Lauren, 21,
Okay.
Austin, so those are my stepchildren.
Okay.
And then Pierce is mine from previous marriage, and then Graham we have together.
Okay. So being a coach here, we talked about this last week. Separating like your parenting style. Do you parent as a coach? Do you use these things that you get from coaching and being around all these other kids when you go home? Like, because I find myself like when I'm around kids, I almost treat parenting as a coaching shift.
Yeah, it crosses over.
You know what I mean? Towards like,
Jessica used to tell me, like, I'm not one of your employees. Like, oops.
Right.
Because your mannerisms, they develop. It's muscle memory.
Yeah.
And it's, so you try to go down these conversations of grooming an employee, and you start going down these questions of what you're trying to get to. And she's not your employee. And I'm like, you know what? You're right.
It's playing the game of how the kid reacts and how
Yeah.
sensitive. Like I grew up as a sensitive kid, weak, where my brothers and sister grew up tougher than me. You know what I mean? As
Yeah.
far as they could handle being yelled at more and all that, where like I could yell at Austin, and he'd be like, okay, you're right. And then I yell at Graham or Pierce, and they melt in everything.
Yeah.
I've only had to whip, the boys very limited because they don't want it to get to that.
Yeah.
And I will whip my kids because it's the best thing for them sometimes. I mean, sometimes you got to do that. Where obviously in the school setting, I can't.
sure.
And then that's how I go approach kids, where I say I go off their personality, what they
Yep.
can handle.
Yeah.
Because you never want a kid going home feeling worse than when they got there. Sometimes we fail it, so it's worse than when they got here. Sometimes I fail at that, and it happens regularly. And I have to work on that and have to adjust. It's all about adaptation. When people talk to me about what's a good coach and what's this, it's not about the play call. You're going to give the best kid the ball the most times.
Yes.
You know what it's about? It's about teaching the kids the intricacies of what to do, how to beat somebody that's better than them. Hey, this guy is better than you. You're going to, you're going to a Division II school, or you're not playing, or Division III school. He's going to a higher school where he's this talented. This is what you need to do to block him to beat him. This is what you have to do. That and the intricacies of those things. Just because I give my kid a car that's a NASCAR, and he pushes on the gas, it does not make him a NASCAR driver.
Correct.
So
Correct.
how to work and maneuver and adapt.
Yeah.
And that's going to be life in general. How do you adapt to it? Bad stuff's going to happen. It is 1,000%. You know what I mean? All these motivational guys get on and they're like, and I'm like, I want to get one thing out of this. Hopefully when guys watch your show,
Yep.
if I watch your show, I'm going to be like, I want to get one thing out of it. I have no other expectation to get one thing.
Right.
Okay? If these guys say the same thing over and over again, get up early, work hard. No kidding, bud. No kidding. Give me the secret ingredient. Hey, if you want to lose weight, eat vegetables.
Eat less and exercise more.
Eat,
right?
take, have more output than input or whatever. I know, it's not fun. I love going and eating what I want. I love doing what I feel like doing. I love sleeping in, even though I don't get to sleep in very often. Like, I love enjoying myself. And, hey, you got to get through the pain. Jocko Willink says it. Eric Thomas says it. All those motivational speakers say the same thing. And it's like, dude, we don't need to know what to do. We need to know how to do it.
Yes.
What's the difference between the team that runs the spread offense that's 10-0 and the team that runs the spread offense that's 0-10? It's not what they're doing. They're running the same offense.
Right.
It's how they're doing it.
Yeah, I say that a lot in life. It's the philosophy is the philosophy is the philosophy at the end of the day. But when you got one unit that buys into that one philosophy, that's when you create a machine. So when you look at all the Super Bowl champs over the history of time, there's no proven magic formula that wins every Super Bowl. You've had defensive-minded teams, you've had high-powered offensive teams, you've had running just 3 yards in a cloud of dust teams. You can have every brand of football that's ever won a Super Bowl, and it's so what formula is right to win a Super Bowl? The team buying in as a unit is the ultimate formula to success, right? So you can run it 3 yards in a cloud of dust, and you can win the Super Bowl. Look at the Ravens of 2000. We're going to punch you in the face, we're going to beat you. And then look at the Rams, but the year before, the greatest show on turf. They just aired it out. So there is, to your point, it's all these motivational. There's nothing new under the sun. These motivational speakers aren't saying anything. Just whatever you choose to do, 100% buy into it and go all in.
Be consistent.
Yes, and success is inevitable.
Hey, I'm going to be. Hey, can we bring you in to speak with the kids? Okay, how often are we doing it? Well, you just come in once.
That's it.
Once? What's one going to do?
Right.
I don't care if it's Urban Meyer, if it's Ryan Day, if it's one of the Stoops brothers, if it's anybody. One time, what does that do for your kids? It only creates confusion. Mm-hmm. Hey, I'd love to come in and talk to the team. How often? That's like them somebody coming and saying, can I be a parent for a day and just check it out? You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. It's great analogy.
Hey, when my kids come from my mom's house, they've got whatever they've wanted the whole time they're there.
Yeah.
Whatever they wanted.
That's fantastic.
It's horrible for me when they come home and I've got to reel them back in, and they'd be like, no, you can't have it. You can't, no.
Grandma gets it.
Well, Grandma said, and it's, and I can't wait to be a grandparent and be able to do that for my grandkids. It's going to be awesome because you can give them back.
Remember all that stuff?
But I'm saying the consistency behind it. I can go and eat healthy for one day and feel great.
Right.
The number's not going to really change on the scale.
Nope.
If I remain consistent, it'll get better. Mm-hmm. The number will. Consistency is the only thing. Hey, coach, I went and lifted today. All right, man, you did what you were supposed to do. It's like me waking up and going to work.
Yeah. Good.
That's the Tom Brady do your job.
Yeah. This is what you're supposed to do.
This is what you're supposed to do. Be exactly right there.
Yeah.
That's why he made guys like Wes Welker, Amendola, the guy from Kent State.
I'm terrible to put on.
Edelman.
Yes.
Edelman.
Terrible to put on the spot.
Guys
like that.
He's got two. Tom Brady's got two kinds of guys. Guys that are super hungry, or guys that are just veteran pros.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There's no in between. Be right here at this exact time. I'm going to put it right here.
Yeah.
You're going to know that I'm going to put it right there every single time.
Yep. I've got a job to do. You've got a job to do, and it kind of goes back to the parenting thing. And I don't want to beat that too much, but there is a time for discipline. And when you watch highlight reels and kind of get to see different things of Peyton Manning, and Joe Montana, all the greats, there's always that clip of to where they let their guys have it, man. They get into them, they chew them up. I remember Boomer Esiason was talking in an interview, and it's just the standard that's set from that position. So when one of his offensive linemen have a false start, he said, you can guarantee they're going to get a ball upside the helmet. So he will intentionally in practice just drop back and beat them upside the helmet. Quit doing it. Like, be sharper, be smarter, be better. I don't know if that's the best approach, but whatever. There was a standard set, going back to Tom Brady and all of his receivers. Here's the standard, and dang it, we're working toward it. No exceptions.
And here's the thing is, are you a pro? Like, what are you a pro at? And they say you got to commit 8 hours a day to being a pro. Okay, I think looking at pro is, are you being compensated for what you're doing?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so if you're being compensated, so when I got done kind of playing football and I went back and tried to do some arena league stuff, and you're paid $250 a game.
Right.
Well, every time the coach would coach you up, guys would go, well, I'm only making $250 a game. Are you a pro? You knew coming in
That's a good point.
what you were getting paid. Okay, when you go and you say,
someone's investing.
Yes.
I don't care if it's $1 or $1 million.
yeah,
Somebody's investing.
the deal's tight. Okay,
Yep.
You're like, hey man, I'll cut my commission down. That doesn't mean you can do a worse job.
Right. Correct.
Hey man, I'll take. If you're a broker, let you do it. I don't know if they'll let you, but with us, I can pick what percentages is in certain situations. So because if the deal's going to be tight, then you got to lower it. Well, hey man, we'll do this. We'll eat this cost. You don't say, well, then I'm not going to. All of a sudden, I'm not worried about them having to pay closing costs, or that they don't get the home warranty, or the inspections can go later, or earlier, or whatever.
Yeah.
It just doesn't. You're a pro. You're being paid. So when a coach comes here, well, I only make X amount of dollars for the whole season. That comes out to like $1 an hour. Yeah,
Right.
you knew it coming in.
So yeah, for everyone watching, not only have we learned about Nick Ayers Academy, he's a head football coach, he's also a real estate agent. So he's man of many hats.
Not a good one. the thing, see, the reason, because I love real estate,
Yeah.
And I think my thing was I got burned so bad young, because I've had my license since late 06.
Okay.
And I do mainly BPOs where I go and assess houses and big people that are in foreclosure. Well, right now the market's so hot that it really doesn't exist. One day it will come back, and my area of expertise will come in. I've done 30,000 BPOs. I've told, had to deliver the news to people that they were leaving their homes.
Yeah.
Where
Am I interrupting?
we're in a radio show. So we are, where I'm going in different houses and stuff and telling people like, hey, we're giving you cash for keys. I'm changing locks.
Yep.
We're doing different things. So that'll come back around. I think it's made me like an expert on areas.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I know a lot of areas.
Yeah, when you were touching base on Cole Rain, your street names, you nailed it. Good job, man. Well
Oh
done.
yeah, I mean, you go in certain areas and geographically I'm pretty sound in the tri-state area.
Right.
So I think that real estate's one of those things that is just it's the ultimate way for wealth.
Yeah.
Because real estate never changes. Me and Matt, who just walked in, we always talk about real estate changes lives, like saves lives.
Yeah.
Because I was in my real estate class at Hondros, and this one lady said it, and I was like, "You're crazy! I was here to make money. I'm not here to I don't know what we got signed up for, but because you're sitting there for 3 weeks straight,
Right. Yeah.
And it's an 8-hour. Now they got Missick or whatever, McKissick or
Yep.
Everything, you can do it
You
online.
can do it online. So I'm sitting in classes and I'm like, man, the whole time I got to be there because my attention span's horrible. Obviously, from the show, you've seen that I bounced around 50 different
no,
things.
it's
Typically what we
perfect,
do.
man.
We've actually probably stayed on track more today than we have.
Really,
Yeah, we're all over. So this
I'm a
is
terrible
good.
guest.
No,
No,
this
it's
is
been
perfect.
great.
This
It's
is
been
perfect.
great. It's been awesome. And what's funny about that is I had no idea that you were a real estate agent.
Yeah.
And you started talking and you were like naming the areas. I'm like, damn, he's pretty smart about all these areas. And then like when he said that, I'm like, well, now it all makes sense.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, like somebody will go, man, I'm thinking about listing my house. I'm like, oh, what are you listing it for? Because I do the BPO.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you can do ARV, after repair value, and whatever. And I'll be like, oh, buy level. Oh yeah, you're 140, 160, depending on how much.
Yep.
Hey, Friend Ranch, Northwest Schools, no basement. Oh, okay, I got you. I know what you to be.
Yep. Yep.
It needs everything. Don't pay more than 30, 40 for it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just in my head. That's
Yeah, you do it all day, every
Yeah,
day.
you do it
Yeah.
all day, and you got to think like when we were doing them for the new rental companies, the new hedge funds that
Yeah.
we're buying. I could do 100 in a day if I had sun up to sundown. I had all day, and some of them were exterior. I was doing values on 100 houses in a day because all of it was, the guy punching in the numbers. All I had to do was get all the details to him.
Right.
Right.
So it was, and then I sell, 5, 10 houses a year to friends and people that
Yep.
trust me and stuff.
Yeah.
But again, when I go home, my wife and I are buying a small farm out in Bethel. It's easier for me to negotiate closing costs and home warranties and all that for other people and fight for it. For me, I'm just like, and she's like, well, can we get this? I've heard you talk about this. I'm like, don't even ask.
Don't
even ask. We'll just pay it. I'm not.
I'm the same way as an agent. When we moved out here in 2012, and we were going over the whole purchasing process.
See the
and it's
track
like,
meet?
you know what?
See if the track meet.
I'm coming back.
Okay.
So it's kind of what you were talking about earlier. When you do it all day, if you're a landscaper and you come home, you want to do your own landscaping. So when you're a real estate agent and you represent clients all day, and it's like the one time it's just like, you know what? I don't feel like it goes. Just whatever. Let's just get the deal done.
Yeah, like,
let's just
why
wrap this
are we
up.
already? If this goes to the next day, we're going to lose this deal.
Yes.
Yes.
Somebody's going to look at it, and they're going to, you have to understand what I'm talking about. She's like, no, I've heard you negotiate this before, and I know that we can get this. And I'm like, no, I'm not doing it. I'm not asking. Why do we need the best hope warranty? It doesn't matter. It doesn't cover that much anyway.
Yeah, I 100% take my advice that I give to my clients, and it's like, $5,000 over a 30-year loan. What's like? It's not even worth the conversation going back and forth on a negotiation. Just let's wrap this deal up. Let's just get it done.
Yeah.
So and there's that. Yeah, we go all day.
So, switching gears, we kind of segued into that, right? So we talked about the guy that works, does something professionally, and goes home and doesn't want to do that, right? So, but now you're at home. So Coach, we have this thing that we do every week called Show of the Week, right?
Cool.
So, whether it's Netflix, Prime, regular TV, whatever it is, every week we kind of talk about either a new show or a specific show that each of us has been watching. So is there anything that you, your wife, have kind of kept up on, started that you liked or didn't like, even more important?
I mean, we are, we love Longmire.
Okay, yeah,
The
I watched
TV
that.
show.
Yeah.
We watch, but we binge watch it. So it'll come out, and then it'll be the whole weekend or week that we'll watch it.
What was that on? I know it's on Netflix.
Netflix, but I don't know
Where it came from?
I don't know where it came from. So Yellowstone, Longmire.
That's fantastic.
So
I love stuff that
I can
involves.
see before it's coming back out. Coming out.
I love stuff that involves
cowboys and ranches and
ranches.
walls.
Well, I mean, it's all its own drama between organizations. So if it's Sons of Anarchy,
Yeah.
which would be considered a
Yeah.
gang, or it was gosh, what's the one MMA show that is
I haven't seen that.
Throwdown or something like that?
Mhm.
My wife would know what it was. I'd have to look, but it's Kingdom.
Okay.
Kingdom is a really good show.
I've seen the picture, you go on Netflix, I've seen Kingdom.
Yeah, they use some jargon and stuff like that is in boxing gyms and stuff. It's pretty cool.
All right.
You know how you do something and you're like, that's not true at all.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
There's no
Is it like a drama / series, or is it like a reality?
series.
Okay.
So if you're looking like reality shows, like I love Chasing Escobar,
Okay.
That stuff's neat, man.
it is
The
the
docu-series.
Yeah.
organizational minds behind those guys and the brains
Yeah.
that it goes into. It's just like, dude, you are going to be rich even if it's legal.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Just do something legal, bro. What are you doing?
That's a whole other rabbit hole. I mean, the effort and energy that people put
Yeah.
into to organization, like a corporate is a corporation, whether it's illegal or illegal.
Mm-hmm.
It's
And it was like, dude, you didn't have to go through all that.
No.
You were miserable over ego.
Mhm.
What are you doing?
Right.
What, how
That's neat.
El Chapo started out,
Yeah.
what he went through and what they did to him, because, I mean, he was ruthless.
right.
Just a horrible.
Yeah, I say this loosely, but sometimes when you watch those things and you see this villain, if you will, and it's just like you're like, wow, I'm kind of inspired by the work ethic and what they overcame. They took
Different
it the wrong way,
perspective.
but it's a kind of a different perspective of like, wow, that's pretty
You
intense.
should have just went the legal route, dude.
Yes,
Right? It's like
100%.
when 50 Cent, Curtis Jackson was, his IQ they did his IQ, it's something ridiculous.
Yeah.
And, he took vitamin water. He saw what vitamin water was and turned it into this multi-million-dollar, billion-dollar, whatever
Right.
it is. And it's like, it took him getting shot in the face
Yeah.
to say, I need to kind of pursue something else. Where other guys don't get that opportunity.
Right.
And it's like, some of these guys, now, don't get me wrong, they have their level of ignorance where, El Chapo could have been, Escobar could have been wealthy
Yeah.
and whatever because they were so smart and whatever, but then their ignorance and how they treated certain people was horrible.
Right.
Yep.
It was tragic in a sense. I mean,
Right.
Which we talk about every week, how you treat people.
Right.
Be good, do good. Just treat people right, and life will take care of itself. And you don't have to be a
they,
drug lord, but
yeah, they
just
probably
be good.
watched Robin Hood and said, "This is what I'm doing. And they were poisoning their own people." And
Yeah.
it's like you never, dealing with being in an area where there's addiction and family that has addiction, and hey, I'm addicted to food. You know what I mean? I'll drink 10 of these, 15 of these a day. I have my own addictions. I
Yeah.
can't say anything about anybody.
Correct.
But I don't understand the concept of these people poisoning
Other
with
people, yeah.
other people with fentanyl and
Right.
Yeah.
tar, and it's like, I couldn't imagine doing something where like this would kill me instantly. Like I know, like I'm staring at a heart attack every time I look at my Chipotle burrito,
Yep.
and I put the vinaigrette sauce on it, and do all, and I'm
Load it up.
and I'm loading it up, and I'm like, heart attack's coming my way, but I know I'm living through that burrito.
Right.
Yep.
Well, but here's the other bit too. Obviously it's different, but like, you have the people that are making the food. Like, I kind of trust them making my burrito, right?
Yeah.
How do you trust the guy that's like, hey, I've got this, whatever, crack or whatever drug it is?
Heroin,
Like,
cocaine.
it's good
Yeah.
for it. Like, you have a chance to die, but like, I didn't put that in there. Come on, man.
But it's not. It's not like, people think I'm crazy for thinking like, because obviously from the thing, but it's like you cannot mess with recreational drugs
Period.
back when you or your parents, because no matter what, I've had people close to me that thought they had prescription Percocets for a problem.
yeah.
They ran out and they called somebody and said, hey, do you have a Percocet? It doesn't make it right.
Right.
Doesn't make it right. But that, I considered my friend that it happened to was murdered. Was because somebody gave him a substance, a Percocet with fentanyl in it,
Yeah.
and he died. He did not know he was taking it.
Right.
People were like, well, hey, you play big boy games, you pay big boy prices. And I said, but does that make it right?
Right.
I know what they did was a mistake. They should have just waited to their prescription.
Yeah.
I've never sat there at the end of pain where I'm like, I can't take it anymore, I need something.
Yeah.
Correct.
You know what I mean? So, I don't know. I don't know what that feeling. I know what it feels like to be hungry, and I'm like, well, I'm going. Where's the nearest place? I'm going.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
like, when I look at that, I just don't see why we haven't, as human beings, done a better job of this. Doesn't make sense
Yeah.
to do this to each other.
Yeah. Yeah, I wonder too, even going back to kind of El Chapo, somebody's making money off of these things, right? So, like, conspiracy theorist,
Yep.
call it what you want, you've got to think there's a way to minimize and limit and be smarter about those types of addictions. Because,
Yeah.
you even take the current situation that we're in right now, right? We're all wearing masks and we're going. We're going to go. Don't even have my belt today, but
Right.
we're wearing masks. But every time you step outside, you're running a risk, right? But we can have this mask mandate, but over here, like your buddy who was in so much pain that he had to have something to take the pain away,
Yep.
that he probably thought was standard, run-of-the-mill Percocet or whatever it was. And it not only ends his life, but it ruins people's lives around it. How do we not have
The awareness of that.
something around that? How does that happen as a society?
And how do you teach your kids? How do you teach your kids that when something is given to you that is not made by a manufacturer,
Right.
Yeah.
in any sense, could be laced with something, whatever,
Yeah.
it can take your life. It can take your life.
Yes. And so,
And it's a scary. I mean, it is so scary to have young people. I couldn't be young today.
I had that same thought. I was driving home 2 days ago. And I think I just heard something on the radio talking kind of similar to what we're kind of hitting on now. And I was like, man, like, so true. Like, thinking about going back like in time and playing in college and going to the trainer's office and going to that doctor and he gives you a pill that you've never heard of before, but you just trust that doctor, right?
Yep.
And but even taking that a step further, a kid going to a party, we've all made stupid mistakes and done things that we probably regret. And let's just say, let's be real, let's just say that kid goes and has a joint. He doesn't know
what's in it?
what's in it or where it came from. Like, that to me is so scary, having kids nowadays, that you can't be with them all the time. You want
Correct.
to, you want to teach them the right way and let them go and hope that they make that right decision. But
Correct.
there's going to be times when they make the wrong decision.
3 young people in another district in Cincinnati. thought they were smoking marijuana or smoking flocka.
Yeah, and that might have been what I heard. That might have been the exact.
I didn't hear about it. That's
Yeah.
crazy.
They thought they were smoking marijuana and somebody gave them flocka. So it's, then you're dealing with a whole nother level of things like kids don't understand that certain narcotics, prescriptions are time released, where if you cut it, hey man, let's not take all of it.
Yeah.
Let's take a part of it.
Yeah.
And then, it instantly releases all to you. And then you die, and you're like, well, it was a prescription from Timmy or Billy or Joey or Johnny's dad or whatever. And then you're like, no, it doesn't. You don't understand.
Right.
Like, and we don't teach that to
No.
kids. And those are home conversations that, that go on that, you don't know if people cover with their kids. And I deal with substance abuse in my family and everything, and I'm not above it at all. And, I have a family member in a privatized prison right now. And guess what? They are treated worse than he was at county. And they were probably treated worse but since it was COVID, he had to go to a certain prison.
Right.
It's a private one that wants the money. That's big business.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the advice that our parents gave us when we were young, that the experience,
Yeah.
we learned from our parents' mistakes on telling us what not to do. So we're telling our kids what not to do because, we were boneheads and we know, guys, just trust me. And we only know when we know. And unfortunately, life is going so fast now that there's synthetic stuff all over the place floating around, and there's dabbling in things that you just don't know what you're getting into, except take your parents' advice.
Yeah.
Just listen. We
Because I
messed
said
up
so.
enough.
We'll tell them why on everything except for the stuff because I said so.
Yeah.
So and here's how the court is set up to me, is we were driving to a clinic at Wofford in Spartanburg, South Carolina. We were driving through the mountains in North Carolina. And we got a ticket. Well, the ticket was $20 and the court costs were $130.
Yeah.
It's completely set up
Yeah.
to be, that's where it's like, well, and then you don't have to appear if you just pay it out.
Okay.
It's all set up to just tax. It's systematic. It's some type of systematic oppression that, it's somebody that can just write the check. It's easy.
Yeah.
Somebody that can't has to show up,
Yeah.
and then they get, well, how much can you pay?
Right.
You see all those Facebook things where the nice old judge is like, this guy comes in, he's like,
Yeah,
I'm a World War II
I saw
veteran, and I parked illegally for 3 weeks, and they charged me $1,000, and he's like, well, I'll tell you what, I'll wipe it all away. That doesn't happen.
No.
That's the best. How many times does he say before that I'm not wiping it off, and you're gonna pay it? And
We had the same situation. Like, cars had backed into a car in our neighborhood. Right? They caught it on ring camera. Again, usually in our neighborhood, if something happens like that, they post it on the neighborhood page, like, hey, anybody seen this car? No, they just went right to the police. And all he was doing was backing out, back too far. He had been driving for all of about 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Backs out too far, crunches
The neighbor, yeah.
Didn't even know, and just took off, came out, because that kid would have, he'd have been tears. He called me on the phone,
Yeah.
whatever. So, 2 days later, I get a call, and I was out, whatever, and I let it go to voicemail, and it's like, this is so-and-so from Clermont Township Police Department. And the only reason, like, we had my dad's truck, and I thought it was cool, so I handed Carson the new license plate I got for him, right?
Right.
And I was like, hey, you go put it on. So he goes and puts it on the back. Well, stupid me, I had forgotten to take my dad's plate off the front. So when he's backing out of the ring camera, they have my dad's plate, so my dad gets a call from them first.
yeah,
So then I get a call, and I finally call him and say, hey, did you get a call from Corey Town? He goes, yeah, I did. I said, okay, it's real. One.
Yeah.
Two, I'm like, all right. So I was like, well, I'll wait till whatever Monday, whatever. And I called this officer back, and it was like, hit and run. Hit and run. First of all, it's not a hit and run. It's like,
yeah,
they saw the video, whatever. She's like, I get it, blah, 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 blah. So at that point, like, I'm not non-confrontational, but like, my wife is way better at those types of conversations than me. Because I would be like, oh, okay, what's he got to do? Take it? Okay. Hey,
Right,
what we got to do?
right.
Let's just wipe it away.
Goes back to negotiating our own deals. Like, just go.
Yeah, But where she's like, oh no, like, this isn't right. We're going to, so she gets my phone. Ticket, again, it was like $20. But then, like, again, just for improper backing was what he was charging. Just for that, he has to go through the diversion program, right? The diversion program's $300
Yeah.
to do that. So, but he just has to go one day, like we were talking about before, that one day.
It's going to make a difference.
It's gonna make a difference, right? The one day, and so
They got their $300.
So she's arguing about it, like, so what's this for? Is this for like am I paying for the class, or am I paying this for court costs? They're like, well, it's court costs, but we're not going to court. Oh, we're paying it for the class. It's like nobody knew exactly what you were paying money to, but all we knew was we had to pay $300 for
Right.
It was like so.
Yeah, it's tedious, man.
So anyway, my show of the week,
Yeah.
and you said it, Yellowstone.
Fantastic.
Yeah, it's like so. I've had several people recommend it, and I had actually set. I had YouTube TV, right? So I had set my DVR to record Yellowstone.
Yeah.
But like for whenever it was on, like it started on season 3.
Yep.
So I was like, well, I'll just wait a while till I get all of them. So finally I was like, okay, I'm gonna check. Sure enough, season 1, 2, and 3. So I have them all on DVR. So I started watching that, and I've just always been a huge.
Where are you at?
I'm in the middle of 2.
Okay.
In the middle of 2.
You just said binge watch, like you shouldn't even gone to bed.
I did that last night.
You did.
Mm-hmm.
Jessica and I got it on Peacock. You get your 7 days free
Yeah.
trial or whatever. Because season 3 was on something that we had, but season 1 and 2 was not. We're like, all right, let's do this Peacock, do the 7 days free, and cancel it. And yeah, season 1 was one night, season 2 was the next night, man. We were like,
Isn't it crazy?
it's 4 o'clock in the morning.
So
The writers are fantastic.
Oh yeah. So the way our house is set up, and my wife's she's in IT for an insurance company, and so she's been home for a year.
Yep.
And originally she was like, sitting at the back dining room table, and then finally she was like, you know what? After about 3 or 4 months, she's like, I need my own desk. So she comes in and takes over my office, which I've been in for 5 years, and she's now the office manager and my quad partner, whatever you
Yep.
call it. But like she gets on me because she'll be in here. It's a different job. She'll be in here. She'll be on meetings and whatever, sitting at her desk. She's got her 2 laptops. I mean, she's got a perfect setup, right? And me, like, I'm sitting there in front of the TV, laptop on my, I'm like, clicking through, like, what's on? So, like, yesterday, that's what it was. Yesterday, I was sitting there, and the day before, like, do what I need to do. Yellowstone's on. I'm back. Yellowstone's still on. so, like, then finally, like, we had a party kind of at our house for birthday party, whatever, and my mom and dad left, and it's like 9 o'clock where she's like, all right, I'm going to bed. I'm like, really? At 9 o'clock? Really? Well, all right.
Yellowstone.
It's like 3 straight episodes.
You watched it without her?
Yeah.
That's a bad move.
Well, so
And Jessica and I bust each other's chops. Like, you watched another episode without me?
we don't have
Yeah, 'cause
we don't have the same
first shift,
schedule.
so, yeah.
That's the hard part.
That's
You better
hard.
figure it out.
It's, oh,
You better figure it out because I'm telling you what, my wife can make me miserable if she wanted to.
now see, we have certain
She makes
shows.
all the rules.
Do you
Yeah.
have?
As soon as I walk in the door.
So you don't have any shows that you would watch yourself. See, Yellowstone, she'll walk in and see it, and she'll be like, oh, that looks stupid.
Well, yeah, I can see that, but I'm telling you, if we like the same things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
There's a few things that Jessica watched that I just have no interest in, but yeah, I mean, I guess I have better taste because most of the things that I get into, she watches.
We do a lot of that, but I had to talk her into like Sons of Anarchy, right? So I kind of watched season 1, and she kind of caught up, and then, but like we'll watch like your network shows, a lot of those, like we'll watch together, like
Have you watched Goldberg yet?
I told you I'm watching like that's
You
a
watch
filler.
Goldberg?
What is it?
Oh, it's a sitcom that I don't know, CBS, NBC, one of them.
Yeah.
It's based in the '80s, and
I think one
Adam Goldberg, who was like a writer for a lot of like Adam Sandler stuff, and did a lot of his childhood through the '80s. So every episode is themed, Beastie Boys or something from the '80s, and it's hilarious. It's by far my favorite sitcom I've ever watched.
It's good.
Every time I watch it, I laugh.
I'm still not done with season 1 of that, but that's only because Yellowstone takes over.
Yeah.
It's like, but to your point before, like we'll watch like, all the Chicago shows, PD, whatever those are, anything that's network, like we would do all that.
Yep.
Peaky Blinders, like
That's good.
those types of things. But like we just got on such a different wavelength with shows where she's more into like the reality. Like I don't want any more reality. Like give me the dramas and the crime stuff and whatever comedies, because I'm just, if I have to go through and reality and listen to some of the stuff that they talk about and some the stuff that they do, I'm like, this is just stupid.
Yeah.
And the same thing she says to me when I'm watching a show about a couple cowboys on a ranch, you know?
Yeah, we talked about it before it started, and it's so many moving parts, but the college scandal,
Yeah.
unbelievable.
I haven't watched that yet.
Yeah, check it out, man. It will make your head spin on how much people are paying to send their kids to these prestigious schools. I mean, they're paying more to get their kid into school than it's worth to send them to the school, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So if you go to USC for $200,000 for 4 years, these people are paying $400,000 or $500,000 to get their kid, to get them in. And it's not, I mean, that's just how much money's floating around out there, and some of the shady things that go on in the background is it will make your head spin. And when you're done, you know, you nailed it when we were talking before we went to the camera. It's why?
Right.
Why? At the end of the day, it makes no difference. Why? Like, so at the end of the show, you end there of like, I understand what they did, but why? So yeah, it's
just got to be more. I don't know. I can't even. You can't make it just all about. That's what I understand. Is like if I tomorrow came in and they said I couldn't coach anymore, like I'd be pretty devastated. But the program would still go on.
Yeah.
Yep.
If you know, real BPOs don't stop because I'm not doing it. They'll find
Correct.
somebody else. And them, they're like, it's all about them.
Yes.
Because you sound like, why do you care? Go somewhere else.
Yeah.
It's if you can afford that, I just in my mind it's like risk and reward.
Yeah.
It's kind of like
Yeah,
I don't get
I
it.
agree with that.
Yeah.
Well, how much risk do they actually take on? The risk is probably more on that particular program, you know, right?
When you watch it, you're like, everybody's filthy.
Yeah.
Because everybody knows they're doing shady stuff. But like one dude got crushed. And the guy that ran it all, I don't want to be a spoiler alert, nada.
No.
Nada. And he was, it's crazy to watch it all play out. So, yeah, I think we'll get wrapped up here, man. I got one more question for you.
We can't wrap up yet.
Okay.
The only reason why is because today, you know, we're all here in Cincinnati.
Opening day.
Today's opening day.
You know what makes me angry about opening day every year? When we were kids, the Reds had opening day to themselves exclusively
Yeah.
for a long time because they were Major League Baseball's first ever team.
Yep.
So they got opening day to themselves, and then the rest of baseball would play the next day or 2 days later. And I wish so hard that they would bring that back to Cincinnati. Because we do the parade, and even in the baseball world, they say Cincinnati has the best opening day in all of baseball. And that's why, and I wish we would bring it back to give the Reds opening day
Yeah.
to themselves.
So-
and I'm a Cubs fan.
So, just experience opening day. Obviously, a lot's changed, right? And I'm not talking about COVID stuff, just in general, a lot's changed. You've got, you know, when I grew up, it was Riverfront Stadium, right? And
Yep.
It was first week of April, and it typically was cold. And the lucky kids, if mom or dad got a ticket to opening day, they got to get out of school early and then go down to the parade. And that was an excused absence.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was an excused absence.
Do they still do that for kids? Like they just take the day off, or
I'm
now
sure
COVID
parents.
day?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure parents stretch the truth. I mean, I'm sure there's nobody excused because of opening day.
Right.
You know.
Yeah, kids sick.
We would just write a note. Like I was fortunate. I had one friend at one point, like in 4th or 5th grade. Like his parents had, and he asked me to go. I'm like, yeah, well, it was like 30 degrees outside. Like they wrote a note, hey, take Tom to opening day. I'm like, all right, see you. And then they would watch the game. Like they'd bring in one of these big giant carts.
Yeah.
And they'd turn on like channel 5 or 9 or whatever it was on, and they try to teach 4th and 5th grade kids while Reds baseball, it really didn't matter whatever was on, but is on TV, and like that was the tradition, right?
That's a memory in itself. The old cards when they
Oh,
used to
yeah.
roll the big TVs around at the
And they rolled
tools.
that in. Yeah.
You knew it was going to be a good day in school when they rolled that
Yeah.
card
I think that's a meme.
in.
It's got to be.
It's got to be.
It's
It has to be. And I'm not a baseball person at all.
Yeah.
Like I was a terrible baseball player. Like
Right.
worst.
You have to have some. Are you from here originally?
Yeah.
So you have to have some type of opening day experience, tradition, nostalgia, right?
It's just it means to me. It's like football's up next.
It's good.
As soon as baseball opening day, as soon as Reds opening day happens, I've only been to one
Yeah.
as an adult ever in my life.
Yeah.
My family's baseball people.
Yeah.
I'm not. I was terrible. Batted last. Just terrible.
Right. You're a fullback in football, right?
Yeah, I just like running into stuff. I just like couldn't hit. I mean, like just anything with skill is out the door for me. No, I'm not a skill person.
You had one direction. I'm going forward.
I'm going forward.
So in order for football to start, baseball has to end. In order for baseball to end, it has to start.
Yes.
That's
So opening day, I'm like the next day, I'm like, okay, we can now.
This too will
football's
pass.
up. Yeah, football's up next.
Well, it's crazy. You look outside where we're at today. It's 39 degrees. And it's like we have baseball season starting today.
Yeah.
Like you should be out there coaching at 39 degree weather. You'd probably love that.
Yeah. I love it when it's hot.
We get lucky that the season in general, like football season, you know,
Cincinnati weather, Ohio weather.
you get a lot of the regular season, if not all of it, in.
Yeah.
And it's still pretty comfortable.
Yeah. So with college football, so one FCS, two NAI, and 3 are all playing right now.
Yeah.
They're playing abbreviated seasons, you know. So when they're in two-a-days, they're not two-a-days anymore, but when they're in camp now, it was snowing. That's how I bet they want that hot weather.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So are they going to turn around and play in the fall again?
I would imagine they would. I'm anxious to see how the equipment comes back. You know, with reconditioning and all the rules.
Yeah.
Excuse me, they're not going to bend for that. You know, so I would imagine that I don't know what adjustments will be made, but it would be pretty devastating to be like a junior in college right now and sustain an injury that was season ending. And normally, if you get you kill 2 seasons.
Yeah.
So, but maybe with this being a free one, and they're saying, hey, you know, you'll get another year. They'll probably they'll probably allow medical redshirt more likely. I mean, I'm sure there's some additions, but I would be pretty devastated for somebody that wants.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, the whole thing is, it's just a lot of adjustments, just in general. You know, everybody for the last 365 days, it's a constant string of just what adjustment are you going to make next, whether it's sports or whatever.
Yeah.
You're just always adjusting, trying to adjust on the fly.
Yeah.
So, quick note, and then we'll wrap up, right?
Yep.
So, we had our competition,
Oh yeah.
right? Don't leave this out.
No.
So to choose which team.
That's what I was trying to do. I was trying to dodge the fact that I ate you lunch.
Yeah.
And you called
Uh-huh.
UCLA from the playing game
Before
to the
the
Final
playing game.
Four. Yeah.
Yeah,
Before the
that's
playing
right.
game, we had to pick our Final Four, and he was staring at it. And he was like, you know what? I think UCLA. And from a play-in game, UCLA is in the Final Four.
And you kept texting me.
I called you Nostradamus.
Yeah, it's just gonna keep rolling. I don't know if I was as confident in them right now as I was, but I got 3 out of 4.
Yep.
So that means you
Owe
owe
me
me
lunch.
Who's
Right.
in the Final Four?
So Houston, Baylor, Gonzaga, and UCLA.
Yep. I had Ohio State leave weekend 1,
Mhm.
and I had Texas leave weekend 1.
Yep.
Kentucky didn't make it, so I didn't pay attention.
No, that's
A lot of local teams.
We talked about
Tim
that.
Gray's a Kentucky fan.
Yeah.
So, we talked just about that too.
Sucks.
Like, hate basketball. Basketball ends, baseball starts, and then football starts right after that.
Yeah.
You know, we were talking exactly the same thing. Like, no Kentucky, no Duke, no Xavier, Cincinnati, Louisville.
It's
You know, it was like, and you said it. You're like, what's the TV ratings going to be like? Probably low because those schools are in it. I said no. I said they're probably going to be really good because
We didn't have last season.
nobody had last season, so everybody's excited for that tournament. Ratings came out, they're through the roof. Now I don't know if that'll happen with
Right.
this Final Four, you know, but it was just Nostradamus said it, right? The ratings were going to go through the roof.
Yeah.
So you owe me lunch. So
Yes.
we'll see how the rest of the
See how it
weekend
plays out,
goes.
see if UCLA can keep the run. So
Yep.
one more question. I think it's so cool is I never experienced before, but when West Clermont opened, first game ever against Princeton, which was a fantastic Friday night game.
Yeah.
You'll never forget that game. But so I could go down. So I was sitting next to a buddy, and we were watching Princeton, and they had a good squad that year. And my buddy was sitting next to me. I was like, wow, Princeton's bigger, Princeton's faster, Princeton's stronger, Princeton's just better. This might get out of hand. But it never did. They never turned the corner that first half, and the game stayed close. And then in the second half, it was 2 completely different teams on the field. And West Clermont came out, and it was a business trip. They ran faster. They hit harder. They never, from the first half, they kind of took a beating. But, to your coaching, great job getting those kids ready. And to those kids to come out after, and I'm being blunt, and the first half was physically dominated by Princeton, but the second half was a complete opposite. So it was cool just to see that and to introduce this program to the city.
Yeah, sorry about that. It was, I sobbed in that interview.
Yeah.
It was heart-wrenching, man. It was like, he laughs about it, but like, it was all the stuff that went into it. I mean, we were getting there, we had practice on a baseball field, outfield.
Right.
At Glen Essie's old campus. No water, no running water, no ice. We had to pick everything up, take it over. First day of contact, a kid sustains a neck injury. It was so much. Personally, I had tons of stuff going on, and it was just so overwhelming. And then they got off the bus, and I'm like, they had the dude going to the defensive end with Ohio State. And I'm like, here it goes. One of our coaches bolted and went to their staff during camp. And got, and essentially it was a better move for him and his family, so I understand.
Mm-hmm.
But it was like, in the pressure, it was just, I don't know why.
Yeah.
And with everything opening up, I just melted. I was weak. So,
Yeah.
How you guys doing? Water, man.
So
Can I steal a case of your waters?
Yeah.
I'll replace it.
yeah.
Column stuff so there's that, and then to start that game, you have each player on your team. They don't have the helmet, so that you have a representative for them. A dad or a male figure in their life that hands them the helmet. Kind of gave me the chills. Thought it was the coolest thing I've seen. And it's how you start the season. Where did that come from?
So we started off a lot of themes when we were back at our previous school staff, and we felt like when I saw Mickey Marotti hand over the team to Urban Meyer after lifting one year, I thought I really wanted to be where the male figure or parent that is handing over the helmet to the staff, to the kid, saying the rite of passage that they trust our staff with their kid.
That's awesome. So to paint the picture, the male figure, they line up all down the sidelines and they're holding their son's helmet. So when the kids come out of the locker room, so you just see a core when we come out, they don't have helmets. You got to go to your male figure in your life on the sideline, and they'll actually hand the helmet over to start the game. And it's such a cool tradition.
Yeah, and so the kids have to explain it at the meal why they're getting that helmet from that person. So you could have a mom out there that they'll say, hey, this is my mom. It's the only figure I've known. My dad was not here. My dad passed away.
Now, is that every game? You guys
No,
do?
it's one game.
Start the season.
Start the season. Every game has a theme.
Okay.
So we'll have different levels of appreciation for moms. We'll have mom's game. Dad's, the dad's helmet handoff. We'll have the mom's flag football touch game. It's just, injuries just crazy. Next year the injury rate will be so high, it'll be crazy. They'll be so gassed up, they're ready to go. They love the game.
Yeah.
Right.
We had an alumni game 2 years ago. I cannot wait until we get back to where we're able to have all those events but we think that everything needs to be explained. And if I have to explain everything to kids, I think the kids should have to explain stuff to us too. So but I love those games. I love watching the kids come out, and I love watching the kids have to explain themselves personally to the person that's important. It could be an uncle, grandpa, and you'll hear stuff. One time at a mom's week, we had a kid that was crying before we walked into the meal, and he said, Coach, my mom got picked up on her ankle monitor on the way here. And he goes, I don't want to go in there. And I said, you know what? You go in there. Didn't say it. I said, you go in there, just say she couldn't make it, and that, how much she needs to. And he goes, that's a good idea. So he sat there, and he was one of the first kids. So it took. It made people cry. It was crazy how
So you get it, I got to follow that.
Yeah, I can't follow that up. But he gets up and he's like, all right, guys, just be honest. My mom drove from Indiana, and her ankle monitor went off, and she was picked up on her way here, and she's arrested and can't be here. But I wanted to know that the effort she's made for me as a kid and growing up and making sure. And it was I was like, can we just end the dinner now? Is this it? But the kids that normally don't talk, or because kids don't express themselves to their parents. I have my kids text me from their room, hey, can I go to Billy's, or can I get this food? And I'm like, you come down here and you ask me.
Yeah.
Right.
I agree.
And when I don't have the control of my own house, how can you have control of a team of 110? You know, that first year was 138.
Yeah.
So, you know, where everybody wanted to be a part of it.
Yeah. That's good. So we also want to leave you with the West Clermont colors, local
Perfect.
legend. So again, that's what we think of you, man. Just the
Thank
impact
you.
that you
I
have
appreciate it.
using your platform. Got a T here.
Will it fit?
Oh, we'll see, man. We'll see.
It could be compression.
So
you know?
if not, you can blend it in somewhere back here as a reminder of what you do and taking advantage of your platform, man. And I think it's cool. So big ups to you.
This is a higher end shirt.
Yeah, it's nice.
It's a higher end material. He didn't just go with the Sandmar special.
Right.
What's the one that you get for like camps? It's
The,
Sandpaper.
yeah.
the ones that like hurt when they're stiff. They hurt when you wear them.
They're supposed to be dry fit, but they're not.
So Ryan sent this out. The guy
These are
that
nice.
runs local
Really nice.
legend.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I was nervous this morning because it didn't show up, and I was leaving at 10:05 was my watching the clock time, and I'm not kidding. 10:04, I look out and I see the mailman turn the corner, and I was like, yes. Now I'm waiting. It's the package. He drops the mail, then he reaches back and grabs a box. I was like, perfect timing. So
Probably
timing
like
was
the porch
perfect.
pirate. Is that what they're called?
Yes.
Porch thief?
Yeah. I could go on a whole other story about that, but I know Coach has got to go. So
Yeah, thank you for the time.
Yeah, and you and I had never met before, and this has been a blast. Like
Yeah.
a couple of things we were talking about, taking some things away, I thought was really cool. You know, obviously reinventing kids, like that's a message.
Oh, yes.
So
We could have a
good.
whole episode
And
on
then
that.
just a quick saying, man, like no abbreviation for appreciation. I think is what you said.
Yeah.
I think that's amazing. I think that's amazing for the generation of kids that are growing up. I think for coaches, reinventing kids. I think for the actual player, student, you know, kids growing up, no abbreviation for appreciation.
I love it.
So true. Yeah, so it's been awesome.
Thank you.
Appreciate it so much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And for everybody else, like 1996, I'm going to wheel this old cart
That
over.
cart's sweet, isn't it?
It is.
That's our sideline cart.
Way better than what we have in the basement. So we'll see you guys next week.
See you.